The man just punched the door of the Ministry of Defense. He punched through the 2-meter-thick titanium alloy steel door of the Ministry of Defense. Even the outer steel wall, which can withstand a nuclear strike, was blown through a big hole. His eyes are as cold as the abyss of hell. Every step they take emits a horrifying aura of death. The broken bodies in front of the hole. His face is like the face of the god of death. And he did all this because he hated humans. He existed in this world to destroy mankind. Before that, it's been on this planet for hundreds of millions of years. In tens of thousands of reincarnations, he's been a soaring eagle, a tiny ant, mighty dinosaurs, and even an erupting volcano. And in this life, it evolved into a lonely elephant. In tens of thousands of reincarnations, it retains all the memories of 100 million years, and in its perception, there is a kind of existence that fills it with hostility. Human beings. He has died many times. Sometimes it's because it's dying. Sometimes he's been eaten by a more powerful individual. But that's just the cycle of life, the laws of nature. But human behavior has nothing to do with survival. They prey on the lives of other species for their own amusement. He died thousands of times at the hands of humans. Every time he reached the brink of death, he prayed that he would never be born again because he was tired of the world. But the sky did not agree with him. This time he was reborn again. And the species he was reborn in this life was the species he hated the most. In this rebirth, he was given a name for the first time. From now on, you'll be called Li Ziyin. The woman looked tenderly at the baby in her arms. Ziyin's appearance finally gave her hope to live. This poor woman's name is Wu Yingshe. She's not very old, but she had a very sad life. She lost her parents in a war when she was young. She lost her husband in another war soon after. The world was a cruel place for him, but now with Xing's presence, he has a reason to live again in order to survive. He began to carry Xing on his back to sell vegetables in the market every day. Every night, he would gently caress Xing to make him sleep, even if he never got a response. He would smile and say the most beautiful words in the world to Xing. "I love you, Ziyin." Although Ziyin couldn't understand what Yinshai meant, but he could feel the warmth of those words, so he didn't hate this feeling in the time that followed. Ziyin learned about human life. Humans divide their species into different classes and give everything a name to summarize it. But for him, who was used to the laws of nature, it was difficult for him to integrate into this complex group. So much so that for the past 6 years, he never spoke a word to anyone. In order to let Ziyin be like other children, Yinshai spent all his savings to bring him to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him. They suggested that Yinshai take him to a psychiatrist first. Yinshai immediately got angry and argued with the doctor. As a mother, he would never allow anyone to say that his son was mentally ill. Ziyin, on the other side of the room, watched all this coldly. He didn't understand why they were arguing with each other. Suddenly, he felt that his body had changed in some way. In a flash, night fell. In the open field, there was a fight going on. The man on the ground pleaded with the 3 men to let him go. But the leader of the group said not to even think about it. How can we let the dissidents go free? But just as the captain was about to arrest the man, he suddenly catches something in his eye. When he looked up, a thin figure appeared on top of a stake. The man was confused. How did this kid climb up a 10-meter high stake? But what he didn't know was, in the next few days, they will become the experiments of the boy in front of him. With the light of the moon, Li Xing leapt down and landed smoothly in front of the crowd. Everyone was shocked at the sight. How did he do it from such a high place? However, they didn't know. This is the frog's ability that Li Xing evolved in his previous life, the speed of a cheetah, the power of an Argentine dragon. At this moment, he finally understood the changes in his body. This was a phenomenon he had never experienced before. He could manipulate the power of all the life forms he had experienced. This also means that the long cycle of reincarnation is finally coming to an end. Perhaps this life will be his last rebirth. Thinking about this, Ziyin couldn't help but smile. In this life, he could finally die, looking at the fallen companions. The captain could no longer suppress his anger. He punched Ziyin directly in the face. Ziyin was instantly knocked to the ground. With the intense pain, Ziyin realized something. As long as he didn't activate his derivative ability, he's no different from a normal human body. At only 6 years old, his body can withstand the full force of an adult. This body looks pretty good too, seeing Ziyin standing up without a scratch. The captain was in a cold sweat, but as an adult, he wouldn't give in to a child. Then he threw another punch at Ziyin. but the moment his fist touched the other side, it was like hitting a hard stone, and then his arm broke. It turns out that Ziyin had just activated her evolutionary power again, and this time, it was the arm of a turtle shell. At that moment, Ziyin suddenly raised her hand and grabbed the captain's neck. The source of this power was the chimpanzee's ability. The force of the grip was so strong that the captain suffocated, but Ziyin didn't have the slightest intention of letting go, because in his tens of thousands of reincarnations, he has always existed in this world in the form of an animal. And the natural law of the animal world, there's one law that hasn't changed in years. It's the rule of survival of the fittest. The weakest should be eliminated from the world. But just as he was about to end the captain's life, a bullet went straight through his body. The one who fired the bullet was the man who was just chased by the three men. Looking at his bleeding wound, Ziyin couldn't help but feel that she had been careless. But that wasn't such a bad thing, because he could finally die. Hopefully, this time it would be the end of reincarnation. Time passed very slowly. It was as if the air was frozen. Ziyin on the ground was already in a state of near death. The man who fired the gun did the same thing he did when he first appeared. That is, to run away, desperately running away. The team wanted to chase after him, but they could only give up, because the more important thing now is to bring his two teammates back to the police station. So Li Ziyin was left alone in the field. However, as the day dawned, Ziyin miraculously regained consciousness. Due to the animal's survival instinct, the sea cucumber's ability to evolve was suddenly activated. Looking at her wounds, which were gradually healing, Li Ziyin couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It seems that it's not easy to die. Since she can't die, she could only survive in this filthy world. Standing in the wilderness, Ziyin felt a strong call from the darkness. The source of the call was his mother, Yin Shai. Seeing her son missing, Yin went crazy, calling out Ziyin's name on the street, while the neighbors on the street had a cold look on their faces, complaining that this woman came out early in the morning to disturb people's sleep. No one cared. No one cared about the feelings of the mother who lost her son. But in the face of her mother's cries, Li Ziying's heart didn't flutter, because she realized it was time for her to leave. For animals, they all leave their mothers when they grow up. This is the only way for both to survive in nature. Besides, although she's not yet an adult, but her instinctive hunting ability is enough for her to be self-sufficient. Time flies. He was on his fourth day of foraging alone. At this moment, he was wandering through the forest with a weak body. He didn't understand what had gone wrong. His whole body was hot, and his stomach was churning. Is there something wrong with the food? I thought humans were omnivorous. In the past 4 days, he ate everything he saw. Sparrows, vipers, hares. But isn't it true that an omnivore can eat anything? At this point, the scent of death once again took over his body, but he doesn't feel any regrets. He just hoped that this time it would be over, but he doesn't understand. A mother's obsession with her child can be terrifying. 4 days or 4 years, 4 years. Even if it's 40 years, she would never give up on her child. At this moment, Youngshik held Ya Young tightly in his arms. He was afraid that Xing would leave him again. At that moment, Xing, who was about to die, gradually came to her senses. I'm so hungry. Suddenly, she wanted to eat the food this human made for her. The evening sunlight was reflecting on Inshi's face. Ziyin's emotions were touched in a way she had never felt before. At this moment, for the first time in her life, she spoke the words. A human word that he didn't understand. It was the same words that Youngshik said to him every day with a smile on his face. I love you throughout the billions of reincarnations. Xing had enjoyed the sunset countless times, but today's sunset, it's especially beautiful today, okay? Then let's live with him for a while longer. Meanwhile, on the other side of the police station, the man desperately describes the scene that night. That kid was a monster. I saw him punch someone to death with my own eyes. The officers were puzzled by the man's account. No one could believe it. A 5 or 6-year-old child. A 5 or 6-year-old kid could take on 3 adults at the same time. And there was only one officer's body present. Other than that, there was no sign of the child he was talking about. The man looked at Sun Hyan. You were there that night. Didn't you see it? I shot you to save your life. And Sun Hyan, on the other hand, was indifferent. He said there's no such thing as a monster child. There's no need to talk to him. Just take him down and beat him up. From that day on, whenever Yinshai went out, he would hold on to Ziyin's hand. He was afraid that he would lose him again. And when faced with the bullying of his classmates, the neighbors gossip. He wouldn't hesitate to stand up and argue with the other side too. Every day he fights for Ziyin against everything in the world. Feeling the warmth of Yinshi's rough palms at this moment, Ziyin secretly made a decision in his heart. He would stay by this woman's side to return the selfless love he had brought to her. Time flew by. 6 years had passed. During these 6 years, Ziyin had completely gotten used to her body. She was getting used to her body and familiarizing herself with the human way of life. The neighborhood has changed rapidly in the past few years. The roads have become smoother. The buildings in the neighborhood have grown taller, but the problems have also increased. The factories established in the neighborhood polluted the nearby water supply. Yinshai fell ill after eating contaminated fish. Even so, when facing Ziyin, she tried to keep a smile on her face. She always told him to be safe on his way to school. But what she didn't know was, Ziyin didn't go to school. Instead, she went to the market to sell apples. In order to help the sick Yinshai to share the pressure, he could only use every means he could think of to earn some money. Looking at the rotting apples in his hands, Ziyin couldn't help but get lost in thought. The rapid development of society will eventually make human beings eat their own fruits. But why should poor Yinshai be harmed too? But then a man suddenly appeared in front of the apple stand. It wasn't Sung Hyan, the police officer who was injured by Ya Young. I was planning to come to you earlier, but I wanted to observe you for a while. I'd like to see how a monster grows up. For more men appeared behind and Sung Hyan without saying a word. They handcuffed Ya Young, however, in the face of the arrest of several people. Zing did not resist at all. This made Sung Hyan feel a bit confused. You don't care if you're just taken away. You're being arrested as a spy. Zing's face remained calm. She just waited for everything to happen. But didn't stop there. If you're a spy, then your mom must be a spy too. I don't know if her weak body can withstand the interrogation. When she heard that Yinshai was in danger, Ziyin couldn't keep her cool any longer. She ripped off the shackles on her hands. Then he ran towards his home as fast as he could. He almost forgot his fatigue on the way. He used all the speed-enhancing abilities from his past life. He only wanted to return to Youngshik's side as fast as possible. However, when he arrived at his home, the door of the house was already crowded with people. Seeing Zing's appearance, the man in the lead immediately realized that he was the boy he wanted to arrest. At that moment, Youngshik also heard the noise outside the door. He opened the door and asked what was going on. But when he realized that they were here to arrest his son, he immediately stood up with his weak body. He ran out of the room and called out for help. Folks, come out quickly. Someone is trying to kidnap my son. Seeing this, the man directly towards him slapped him hard in the face. Looking at the scene in front of him, Ziyin's anger surged to his heart. He had wanted to hold back, but he finally exploded at this moment with a burst of miserable screams. The house was surrounded by corpses. Yinshai crouched on the ground and looked at what was happening in front of him. She couldn't help but bite her lips and cry. Ziyin also realized that she was in trouble again, and this time, it seems to be much more serious than before. At this moment, a car roar suddenly sounded from behind him. What did I say? I told you he was a monster. And looked at Li Ziyin with a sneer on his face, as if he was about to represent mankind. To give this demon the final judgment. At that moment, Yinshai suddenly dodged in front of Ziyin. I killed them all. Arrest me if you want. My child doesn't know anything. Seeing this, Ziyin suddenly felt something she had never felt before. It was heartache. He didn't know why this woman, who was so weak that she couldn't even eat, why would she protect herself against all odds? At this moment, he finally realized what family love was. It was also at this moment, he decided to protect this woman with his own life. In the face of the bullets coming thick and fast, Ziyin's eyes revealed an incomparable determination. He would never allow anyone to harm Yinshai. With a burst of gunfire, he blocked all the bullets with his body. But Chengchen didn't give up. He ordered his men to attack him again, but at the moment of the gunshot, Yinshai suddenly stepped in front of him. I'm sorry, I couldn't take care of you, my child. As the bullets dug into his body one by one, Yinshai also fell to the ground at that moment. Looking at Yinshai in front of him, Ziyin finally called out for his mother, which he hadn't done for 12 years. But Yinshai caressed his face. Ziyin, no matter what happens in the future, you must promise your mom to live a good life. With that, she closed her eyes with regret. At that moment, a flood of memories came to Ziyin's mind. He didn't understand why these people wanted to take his mom away from him. All he knew was that there was only one thing he had to do now. Kill them all. Ziyin used the sea cucumber's power to repair his wound. Then she looked at Yinshai once more with sadness in her eyes. Then he turned around and ran towards the distance, but he wasn't running away. He didn't want any more filthy humans to die next to his mom. When Sung Hyan saw Ziyin running away, he yelled at his teammates to go after him. Don't let him get away again. So they drove after Jae into an open field, and Jae-in stopped in her tracks. I'm sorry for all the people I've killed, and all of you who are about to die. You all have moms. You all have someone to love and be loved by. I shouldn't have taken your lives so freely. I did make a terrible mistake, but so did you. You kill and destroy for your own amusement. You're destroying everything in the world all the time. I've always wondered, why do I keep being reborn? Why do I have such power, and now I finally understand? The reason for my existence is to exterminate the most disgusting species on Earth. That's you humans. As soon as the words left their mouths, everyone was terrified. They all unconsciously took a step back. At that moment, Ziyin had already leapt into the air. Then she evolved the ability of a falcon and rushed straight to the ground. The huge impact left no chance for them to fight back. The car was overturned. Everyone else died instantly. Only Chengshin is still alive. I was right. You're a threat to humanity. Monsters like you shouldn't even exist in this world. At that moment, Ziyin was still indifferent. You were right. You should have killed me. But you failed, and as a price, all humans in the world will perish. Night fell in the blink of an eye. Ziyin carried Yinshai and walked aimlessly for a long time. I don't know if it's because I'm tired or because I'm hallucinating. She knew it was impossible, but it was as if she heard Yinshai talking. It was the words she had told herself thousands of times. Ziyin, I love you. Under the moonlight. Ziyin responded to these words for the first time. Mom, I love you too, for a man who had lived for billions of years. The 10 years he lived with Yinshi was just a moment in time, but in those 10 years, he received infinite love, he felt infinite happiness. But from now on, he no longer has a mother. In the cold, snowy mountains, a gunshot pierced the sky. A hunter was walking towards his freshly caught prey. But then a small figure stood in front of it. How did you get here, little one? This is a hunting ground. It's dangerous. Ziyin didn't answer the hunter's question. Instead, she stared coldly at the mountain chicken on the ground. Seeing that the boy did not say anything, the hunter just picked up the prey and continued to ask ... It's fat, isn't it? I haven't seen such a fat chicken for a long time, at that. Ziyin's face instantly darkened. You're proud of hunting other beings, aren't you? As he spoke, the black bear's ability to evolve gathered in his hand. But just as he was about to attack the man suddenly asked about his parents. The question pierced his heart like a bullet. They were dead. The man was at a loss for words when he heard this answer. Then he dropped the chicken in his hand. He put his coat over Ziyin's body. It's so cold. Why are you still wearing short sleeves? Let's go home with Uncle. Ziyin was overwhelmed by this sudden warmth. It was the first time someone other than her mother had ever cared about her. I don't know how long it took. The two of them finally arrived at the door of a wooden house. The hunter's mother was waiting for her son. At lunch, the man asked Zing about her. How did you end up in this mountain valley? But Zing said she didn't know. But she said she didn't know. She was just walking and came here. The man couldn't ask any more questions. He said there was nothing here. And there's a resort being built next to it. It's not a good environment for children to grow up in. Tomorrow, you'll go with Uncle to the village down the hill. After all, you're so young, you still have to go to school. When you get to school, you'll learn to be polite. Understand, bastard, looking at the man in front of her. Ziyin was in deep thought because he felt the warmth of this man. He felt that indescribable warmth once again. The next day came. The man put his own clothes on Ziyin. He even rolled up his pants for him. Although the clothes didn't fit Ziyin properly, but it still made him feel warm. Then they said goodbye to the grandmother, but she didn't respond. She waved her hand at the man. Ziyin was curious. Your mother doesn't seem to be very talkative. The man grinned. You know how to use honorifics, little man. Then he said, it's not that my mother doesn't like to talk, it's that she can't speak. Because she can't hear with her ears. Ziyin was even more puzzled. Then why did you talk to her if she couldn't hear you? The man smiled faintly. Although I can't communicate with her in words, but I know I've already conveyed my feelings to her. That's enough for me. In the middle of the conversation, a torrential downpour suddenly fell from the sky. Luckily, they found a cave to hide from the rain. But due to the over-exploitation of mankind, the ground in the mountains has become soft in a flash. Rocks and soil slid down the mountain with the rain. In the nick of time. The man pushed Zine away from him. He was crushed by the earth and rocks. Even so, he was still concerned about Ziyin's injuries. Ziyin didn't understand why things suddenly turned out like this. All she knew was that she had to get him out of the mud. "Please hold on, sir, I'll get you out soon." But the man was already dying as he cried out, "Mom!" The kind uncle closed his eyes forever. At this moment, the cold rain mercilessly slapped Ziyin's face. He didn't understand why everyone close to him died because of him, and he didn't understand. Why did God take away everything from him over and over again? He looked up at the sky. In his mind, he remembered the construction team that Uncle had told him about. Damn human beings. You'll pay for what you've done in the end. At that moment, just because he was carrying his uncle's body on his back, he carried the uncle's body on his back and walked home. He wanted to take this poor man back to his mother. "I don't know how long I've been walking." A familiar figure finally appeared in front of him. As a mother, the old man had long sensed that his son was in danger, but seeing her son's body right in front of her eyes, even the strongest mother could not accept this cruel reality. Sitting on the cold steps, Ziyin was confused about her future. She was still in agony and regret, whether or not she should have killed those wretched humans. He didn't know what was the right thing to do. Then he suddenly remembered a test he had taken at school. The 20 marks on the exam paper made young Shik very angry. Even if you don't know the right answer, try to answer the question. Don't leave a question blank just because you don't know how to write it. His mother's words were ringing in his ears. At this moment, he finally realized he had found the answer to the question. Time flew by. 2 months have passed in a blink of an eye. A ribbon-cutting ceremony was held today for the resort near the village. The men in charge of the construction, he thanked everyone who attended. But then a thin figure suddenly appeared not far away. The man immediately scolded the security guards. "How can you let someone in on such an important day?" But just as the security guards were about to stop the boy, they realized that there were already corpses lying behind him. Ziyin looked at the man with indifference. "So what if you don't know the answer? Doing what you want is the right thing to do. I'm going to kill you all. It's not easy to exterminate the human race, but I can do it." 1 year later, Z stood on the railroad tracks with an indifferent face, facing the fast-approaching train, but he did not have the slightest intention of avoiding it. The conductor pulled the emergency brake, but due to the train's speed, Ziyin was knocked out of the way when the train stopped. The conductor got off the train in a hurry to check the situation, but when he reached the ground, he found nothing. What he didn't know was, Ziyin had already gotten up and walked towards the mountains. It turned out that Ziyin wasn't trying to kill herself. She was training her unconscious to maintain her ability to evolve creatures. And the one he had just trained him in the ability to maintain the strength of the shells he had evolved. Another year had passed. The wandering Ziyin had already gotten to know the animals in the forest. He learned to communicate with them, not with words, but with telepathy. Everything was going much better than he had expected, because he possessed a well-developed intuition unique to humans, and most of the life forms on Earth preferred humans. But that was another mystery to him. After another 5 years, Ziyin finally reached adulthood. With his body reaching its full potential, he wanted to make it last longer. So he used the turtle's power to realize this idea. 10 years passed in a flash. His senses were no longer limited to living things. Land, water, plants. He can sense everything in the world. He can even sense the breath of the entire planet. In the midst of mankind's endless destruction, the Earth is sick. It's dying at a rate we can't predict. Another 30 years passed. At the age of 45, Zin mastered the art of enhancing his physical abilities. He tried to combine his bioevolutionary abilities with the energy of nature's breath to create a new power, the power of nature. This means that Ziyin can now control all of Earth's matter. This means that everything is ready to end. It's time to condemn the human race to extinction. Zin uses the power of nature to send heat into the earth. Then she uses her legs to vibrate at a high frequency to put pressure on the ground. By repeating this motion, he can trigger an earthquake with his power. He can cause powerful earthquakes in 6 places around the world, causing the Earth's tectonic plates to split into 36 parts. Nearly half of the land will sink to the bottom of the sea. This catastrophe will lead to the end of the human race. But when he saw the birds flying in the sky, he hesitates, because after this catastrophe, not only human beings, many other species will also perish. Thinking of this, he stopped activating his power for the time being. Anyway, he could destroy the human race at any time. Why don't we go to the human world first, to see if they still have any value to exist on this planet? But as he traveled along, everywhere he looked, the world was in shambles. Whether it's the clear ocean or the green jungle, wherever human beings are found, they're destroying everything. Even paths that used to smell like flowers have now become cold highways. Forget it. It's a pain in the ass. Let's just kill them all now. But just as Ziyin was about to do it, the roar of a car behind him suddenly caught his attention. It's so loud, there was no such sound in the old world. As he thought about it, he activated the power of nature. The powerful energy caused the road to break apart instantly. The boulders on the mountain also slid down at this moment. And when Purple Sakura saw the face of the person in the car, she instantly froze. Because that was the face that she had been thinking about all the time. It looked so much like her, its mom. Just when the boulder was about to hit the car, Ziyin rushed up to the car. She smashed the boulder. The woman in the car was trembling with fear. When the commotion subsided, she slowly opened her eyes. But she saw a boy looking at her strangely. The woman was instantly terrified. At that moment, another rock slid down from the mountaintop. Ziyin was hit in the back of the head by the rock. At that moment, a long-lost feeling swept through Ziyin's body. Pain, it really hurt. She didn't understand. She could obviously maintain her ability to evolve unconsciously, but why was she still hurt? However, when he saw the panicked woman in front of him and his concerned look, he realized that it was this woman who made him lose his concentration for a moment. He looked so much like Yin Shai, so much so that I was lost in thought. He slowly closed his eyes. The feeling of death that he hadn't felt in a long time came back to him. When he opened his eyes again, there were two strange women standing in front of him. He sat up and realized he was in a hospital. The nurse advised him not to exercise strenuously. You just had brain surgery, otherwise it will be very painful. But when the nurse asked him his name, he suddenly realized he couldn't remember anything until he saw the woman next to him. A blurry figure instantly appeared in his mind. That's how he finally regained some memories. Then he slowly spoke to the nurse. My name is Li Ziyin. In the next 2 months, they searched the entire country for anyone between the ages of 20 and 40, but they couldn't find any information about Ziyin. Even the place where her accident happened, there were no images of her on the surveillance cameras. She seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Su Li sighed helplessly. She's heard the same thing 100 times. She just wants to know what to do about the situation now. The staff, on the other hand, said awkwardly that things are very difficult. But if he had a guardian, maybe things would be a lot easier. At those words, Su Li looked at the staff with a puzzled expression. What do you mean by that? A month had passed. It was time for Ziyin to be discharged from the hospital. The staff called out for Ziyin's guardian. Although Su Li was reluctant to do so, but she still responded. After signing the discharge papers, she looked back at Ziyin sitting in the chair. It was as if their destinies were intertwined. When they left the hospital, Ziyin noticed Su Li was in a bad mood and asked her about it. But Su Li glanced at him in an unfavorable manner. I'll say it again. It's none of my business what happened to you. I don't need to feel responsible or guilty for you. Ziyin looked puzzled. What a strange woman. Why do you keep saying the same thing over and over again? What's the reason for the rock fall? Who are you responsible for? He didn't realize that Su Li was talking about the reason for his memory loss. Seeing this, Su Li didn't bother to explain more. Judging from your figure and appearance, you must be in your 20s. But I'm already 34 years old. So you have to call me sister. Do you understand what I mean? At that, Ziyin nodded lightly. Then she took Su Li's hand in hers. Seeing this, Su Li was shocked. This guy, didn't I tell you? I told you not to hold other people's hands. At this moment, Ziyin was puzzled. He didn't understand why he couldn't hold hands. Mom used to hold her hand every time she went out. Looking at the innocent Ziyin, Su Li was speechless. In short, no. If you really want to hold hands, you have to ask the other person if they're willing to be held. Unexpectedly, the innocent Ziyin immediately asked if she could hold hands. At that, Su Li sighed helplessly, then he took Ziyin's hand. That's how he held her hand. Countless memories flooded Ziyin's mind. Tears came to her eyes without her realizing it. Sensing something unusual, Su Li turned around to check. Ziyin was already in tears. But when he asked Zing the reason for her tears, Zing suddenly froze. She didn't know she was crying. Yes, why did I cry all of a sudden, even though Zing had forgotten all her memories? But the warmth he brought to her will always be there. After leaving the hospital, Suri took Yao Young to her best friend's coffee shop. He wanted her to take her in and let her work there, but she refused without thinking. She said she wouldn't hire such an unidentified person. She also persuaded Su Li to give up adopting Xing. Look, he's not only amnesiac ... he speaks in a strange dialect. Don't you think she's suspicious? Although what my best friend said does make sense. But when she thinks about her encounters with Xing, she's convinced herself that this boy is harmless to her. Besides, she lost her memory because of her. So no matter what, I should keep her with me. The two of them stopped arguing and turned their attention to Ziyin inside the room. Ziyin responded with a polite smile. But this scene instantly struck a chord in her best friend's heart. Now I understand why you adopted her. Seeing that she couldn't persuade Su Li, she agreed to stay here and work. There's a vacant attic above the cafe. You can live there from now on, but Xing refused. She said she wanted to live with Su Li, but Su Li said no. Don't keep pestering me. You can work here until you get your memory back, and I'll come over to see you more often. At those words, Ziyin was lost in her heart, but she nodded her head and agreed, seeing that the matter was settled. Su Li also got up and prepared to leave because of Ziyin's case. Su Li's research work has been delayed a lot. Ziyin instantly became interested. Research? What's that? At this moment, her best friend told her, your sister works for an environmental protection organization. She's in charge of researching the Earth's conservation program. Ziyin was envious, protecting the Earth's environment. I hope one day I can work there too. At this moment, Su Li got up and greeted the dog beside him. He was ready to take him home with him, but when he unlocked the chain, the dog ran straight towards Ziyin. My best friend was surprised. She didn't expect Lois, who was always afraid of strangers, to be so close to Ziyin, but looking at the dog on the ground, Ziyin's heart felt inexplicably sad. I envy you for being brought home by Su Li and to be loved by Zurich. But the moment he touched the dog, his body's biological evolutionary ability was suddenly triggered. The next moment, a pungent odor made him vomit ... Following the source of the odor, a speeding van passed right in front of the coffee shop. It was as if Lois had smelled something too ... Then he screamed like crazy, and Zuri immediately recognized the truck as her company's. Ziyin calmed down and realized she had the sense of smell of a dog, and she also sensed there was a creature in the truck that she had never encountered before. It was a life form born out of human selfishness. Even though Ziyin had lost her memory, but she could still feel. That creature was emitting a very strong emotion, and that emotion was the strongest hostility towards the human species. On the other side of the biological research room, the researchers are reporting the results of a recent study. It's a coelacanth hydra that induces cancer cell division. No matter how much damage it suffers, it's able to regenerate perfectly after a few days. If we can find a way to curb cell regeneration, if we can find a way to stop cell regeneration, then we may be able to solve the problem of cancer cells. It's a new species recently developed by a marine company, and that's exactly what Ziyin felt before. This creature, which should not exist on Earth, has been created by mankind. It's called the Helmsman. It means leader. Earth is a perfect planet. All living things evolved from a single cell. Over time, a wide variety of life has evolved. From the very beginning of life, all living things on Earth have had their own skills. And these skills are based on animal instincts. And these instincts are what allow them to survive on this planet. All life on Earth is a cycle of life and death. This cycle keeps the planet in perfect balance, but this flawless planet. But because of human overdevelopment, destroying the ozone layer in the atmosphere, the global warming, glaciers are melting, and the oceans became a dumping ground for mankind. All of this is destroying the balance of this perfect planet. Is little by little destroying the balance of this perfect planet. Back at the coffee house, Ziyin was reluctant to go to work. She wanted to go to church with Su Li, but Sangmi told her not to go anywhere during working hours. She threatened to sleep on the street tonight if she tried to run away. And I'm a Buddhist. I know Shaolin Kung Fu. Ziyin looked puzzled. What's Buddhism? And Su Li explained that it's a human belief, but Ziyin was even more confused. Sangmi immediately said, this guy is an atheist. He doesn't believe in the existence of God in this world. But Ziyin denied it. There must be a God in this world, because the cycle of this world is too perfect. Even though Ziyin has lost his memory, he has existed with the Earth for billions of years. He intuitively concluded that omnipotent God has been secretly maintaining the perfect order of the Earth. Whether it's a typhoon, hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, He has a myriad of natural means at his disposal, like the human body's ability to protect itself from destruction, and if that's not enough, then the Earth will create a necessary being to keep the scales in harmony, a being whose natural instinct is to destroy mankind. But no one knows that there are now two beings on Earth with the same goal. One is being held captive in a laboratory. The other is temporarily disillusioned and has lost sight of its goal. The two beings will one day meet in some way, and no one knows what will happen to mankind. What will happen to mankind as a result of their meeting? Time flies. Ziyin has been working at the cafe for 2 months, but he still hasn't been able to integrate into the human lifestyle. But that made Sangmi very anxious. She had to teach him how to greet customers. You can't just work like a machine. You must always keep a smile on your face. And it worked. Because of Ziyin's appearance, suddenly, the coffee shop's business was booming. Countless college girls came in just to see her smile. When the cafe closed at night, Sangmi was overjoyed at the day's turnover. It was a good decision to keep you here. You're really a blessing to me. Seeing the two of them getting along so well, Suli was also very happy for them. She said, "We could celebrate tonight. Let's have a drink together." But Sangmi said she had a blind date tonight, so Lee had no choice but to give up. In that case, she could only celebrate with Ziyin. In no time, they arrived at a bar. Ziyin, who had never tasted beer before, spewed it out. As she watched Suli enjoying his drink, she didn't understand why humans like this awful stuff. At that moment, Suli told her, people drink for the feeling of being drunk, and that feeling can make people forget all their troubles. To be their true selves again, Ziyin looked at the beer in her hand and pondered, can I really be my true self again after leaving the bar? The two of them walked down the street with a slightly drunken look on their faces. The fireflies in the grass caught Suli's attention. Ziyin, look, they're so beautiful. Just like the stars in the sky, they keep winking at you. Although Ziyin didn't understand the meaning of these words, but he could sense that Suli loved these creatures, so he reached out to the grass beside him. The next moment, he developed the ability of a firefly. His body flickered with a warm light. However, this action scared Suli to death. As a human, he had never seen such a scene before. He turned around and ran away. Seeing this, Ziyin immediately chased after him, shouting desperately that there is danger ahead. But when Suli reacted, it was too late. He lost his balance when he tripped over a stone. Then he fell 100 meters down the cliff. At that moment, Ziyin's dormant power was once again awakened. Z's cheetah's ability was realized, and he rushed to the cliff. In a single leap, he appeared in the sky above Suli, and his expression changed back to his usual dead state. With the speed of a falcon, he rushed to the ground. He took Suli into his arms without missing a beat. I won't let you get hurt again in this life. The time came to the next day. Suli, who hadn't been able to sleep all night, came to work early. They were discussing the biometrics of the helmsman. Research has found that he has an extremely fast regeneration rate. No matter what kind of damage he suffers, he can perfectly split and regenerate into a whole entity. The chief took out a bottle of sulfuric acid. He drops it into the helmsman's container, but even this can't hurt him. On the contrary, it makes him crazy and agitated, and the other individuals that split from him will also be agitated. This means that the stimulation of the helmsman's body can be transmitted to the others. So now we have a problem. So the question is whether or not the new body that's formed from the cut-off part, is it a separate life form or not? Looking at this scene in front of her, Suli felt a strong uneasiness in his heart. He didn't know whether this was good or bad for humans. He only felt that this was a life form that shouldn't have appeared on Earth. At this moment, the chief has not yet realized the new creature they've invented has the same goal as Ziyin, to destroy the human race. After work, Suli went to the coffee shop. Ziyin was cleaning up before work as usual. When she saw Suli, she greeted him cordially, and Suli asked the question in his mind. What was that glowing superpower of yours yesterday? What secrets are you hiding? But Ziyin said she didn't know what was going on. She only knows that she can evolve the power of various creatures. I know that I can evolve the abilities of various creatures according to my will. If you don't like it, I won't use it again. At that moment, Suli realized that it wasn't as simple as that ... So she continued to ask him, if you were to use this power to do something, what would you like to do the most? Ziyin thought hard about it. Suddenly, a scene of killing someone flashed in her mind. If I had to do something, I'd like to destroy the human race. In response to Ziyin's answer, Zhu Li froze in place with a look of disbelief. He didn't think that this innocent and cute boy would say such a thing. He had to find out what had happened to him. With this in mind, Zhu Li took out a research consent form. He expressed his hope that Ziyin would cooperate in finding out his secrets. Of course, if he felt pressured, he could refuse. Ziyin picked up the pen on the table without hesitation. As long as it's something you want me to do, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Then she signed her name on the same letter. The next day came. Zhu Li brought Ziyin's blood sample to the lab, but the results showed it was the blood of an ordinary man. Zhu Li was puzzled by the results, thinking back to the previous events. He instantly felt that all his scientific knowledge had all collapsed. However, when he passed by the laboratory, the helmsman, who had always been quiet, as if attracted by some kind of attraction, suddenly began to shake violently in the container. The man in front of him was shocked by the sight. In a panic, he knocked the container on the table to the ground. With a crisp cracking sound, the body of the helmsman was directly exposed to the air. The chief scolded the man for his carelessness and told him to bring another container over quickly, but what he didn't realize was, at this moment, the danger is approaching him step by step. With a strong tingling sensation attacked, he saw that the tentacles of the helmsman had crawled onto his hands. Seeing this, the chief was horrified because until now, humans have not yet fully mastered all the characteristics of this creature. However, just at this moment, the helmsman suddenly withdrew his tentacles from his hands, and the next second, it died and turned into a puddle of black water. But when he looked at the other splitters on the table, he was shocked by the scene in front of him, because according to the results of the previous experiments, the helmsman and his splinters share the same nervous system. Now that the main body is dead, it is logical that the split body should die with it. But there's no sign of death in any of the splinters. But just as he was about to find out, a sharp pain came from his arm. Then his body suddenly began to twitch involuntarily. Outside the door, Zhu Li also heard the commotion in the lab. Hurriedly pushed open the door to ask what happened. Seeing the chief lying on the ground, Zhu Li subconsciously took out his cell phone and dialed the emergency center. However, no one noticed that the chief's eyes had been filled with red light at some point. He was staring at the blood sample in Zhu Li's hand. In the next second, he suddenly got up in a terrifying position. He directly rushed towards Zhu Li's direction like a madman. In the nick of time, a big hand suddenly pressed on the chief's face. Without saying a word, it knocked him to the ground. It turns out that the moment the container was broken, Ziyin, who was working at the coffee shop, sensed a dangerous aura, and the source of the aura was the place where Zhu Li was working in order to prevent an accident. Ziyin left her work and came here, but while she was checking to see if Zhu Li was hurt, she didn't realize that the next danger had already arrived.